touch that peak. I've been grinding all week. Ain't no stopping me. I ain't getting no sleep till I touch that peak. I've been grinding all week. Ain't no stopping me. Ain't no stopping me. Ain't no stopping me. Till I touch that peak. I've been grinding all week. Ain't no stopping me. I ain't getting no sleep till I touch that peak. I've been grinding all week. Ain't no stopping me. Ain't no stopping me. Ain't no stopping me. Till I touch that peak. I've been grinding all week. Ain't no stopping me. I ain't getting no sleep till I touch that peak. I've been grinding all week. Ain't no stopping me. Ain't no stopping me. Ain't no stopping me. Till I touch that peak. I've been grinding all week. Ain't no stopping me. I ain't getting no sleep till I touch that peak. I've been grinding all week. Ain't no stopping me. Ain't no stopping me. Ain't no stopping me. Till I touch that peak. I've been grinding all week. Ain't no stopping me. I ain't getting no sleep till I touch that peak. I've been grinding all week. Ain't no stopping me. Ain't no stopping me.
The bill's currently in the Senate, and Trump is pushing them to pass their version as soon as possible, posting, "To my friends in the Senate, lock yourself in a room if you must. Don't go home. Pass it immediately. No one goes on vacation until it's done." This whole process has been rushed to the point that some House members who voted for the bill later had to admit that they hadn't read all of it. Marjorie Taylor Greene, arguably one of the worst things to come out of Georgia since the Trail of Tears, was upset when she learned the House version included a provision prohibiting states from restricting AI for the next 10 years.
This past week, I have come out in full transparency and said, when I voted for the one big beautiful
Trail
bill,
of Tears,
I didn't know about
really?
this clause.
Yeah, that's not
The
great.
Trail of
Although,
Tears.
to be fair, who among us hasn't
Oh
approved
my
things that we
goodness.
haven't read properly? It's why none of you noticed Apple's new terms and conditions technically give them rights to your firstborn child. It is true. Tim Cook is pulling a Rumpelstiltskin right now, and he's coming for them as soon as they can hold a tiny little screwdriver. But a lot of people don't know
Oh my
what's in
goodness.
this bill. About 2/3 of the public say they've heard little or nothing about it, but when they do, they
That's
don't
BS.
like it. As polls show, those who've heard a great deal or good amount about it oppose it by a roughly 2-to-1 margin. Even some Senate Republicans will admit that not all their colleagues are thrilled about the bill's contents.
We could spend 4 weeks, we could spend 4 years. And when we're done, not every Republican senator is going to want a French kiss this final product. It's just not going to happen.
That is such a weird way to phrase that. Why would you force us all to imagine lawmakers tonguing a stack of paper? But as regular viewers know, Kennedy loves gratuitous sex talk, from inserting the phrase, I like omelets better than sex, into a discussion about, and this is true, USAID cuts, to this.
Oh, no. What's up?
Records of Congress, there is an answer to the question, what if Foghorn Leghorn was a power bottom? And look, as of taping, the bill still needs to clear the Senate and then go back to the House, and things are still coming in and out of it. But the broad contours are clear. It is a massive redistribution of wealth upward, accompanied by gigantic cuts to critical programs for the most vulnerable. So given that, tonight, let's talk about the one big, beautiful...
Okay, maybe not that last part, but you guys know this is John Oliver, so he's going to say anything and everything to make you laugh and also get his point across, if you know what I mean. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you to Rise of Middle America. I'm AK, your favorite guy, and tonight, what are we going over tonight? I think it's the big, beautiful bill, right? That's right. It was passed last week, and there are some gems that I would like to go over, such as no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, car loan interest, Social Security, and what that means for you. Then we're going to go and take a deep dive into unions, or what's left of them, and they're good. Are they good for America? I mean, what are the issues with them, and what this means for the future of labor unions in America? So sit back and relax as ROMA Nation starts now.
I'm hiding all you, so lonely. I'm hiding all you, so lonely.
All right, folks, welcome to the show. Before we get there, you already know I got to do my shilling. Please go to riseofmiddleamerica.com and check out our lineup of podcasts. From history to news, pop culture to true crime, we have a show for all of your needs. Join our Discord right up here in the upper right-hand corner. If you want to be a podcast host, producer, researcher, or writer, this is a launch pad. Hit the top of the page for all the socials and scroll down to the bottom as we get past our ugly faces here for the ROMA Nation merch. Let's see if it works this time. It's like hit or miss every time I click on it. Hey, there we go. We've got merch for everybody. Small, medium, large, extra large. We got t-shirts, we got bags, we got hats, and we got some real funny content too. We also have got the new Facts and Sash shirt that just came out. And I also do believe that we have a top for the ladies. Hope you guys will like that for you. But anyways, make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. And join the ROMA Nation Network anywhere you go. I mean, we are exploding here over the last couple of weeks. So it'd be really nice to get as many as you can out here. Please share the show with your friends. And let's see. Let's rant about the big, beautiful bill. All right, so buckle up because tonight's Roma's rant is going to fire you up your paycheck, your political pulse. We're talking about something that, love it or hate it, might be the most radical tax change for working Americans in decades. Now, I'm talking about the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, or as the White House likes to call it, the OBBBA. That is such a stupid name. Signed into law on the 4th of July with fireworks in the sky and heading headlines to keep up. All right, because this bill didn't just tweak the tax code, it detonated it. Like, literally. So tonight we're zeroing in on two of the most talked about non-pieces of the monster legislation. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime. We might have some time to get into some of the other ones, but if we do have time, I'll make sure we jump into it. Now, think about that for a second. For the first time in American history, you are slinging drinks, waiting tables, grinding out the 6 12-hour shift in a row. You may not have to pay a single dime on federal income tax. Some of that extra cash sounds great, right? But here's the thing. Like anything coming out of DC, what sounds beautiful on the surface may have a very different story under the hood. So tonight, we're going to break this thing down bullet by bullet, and here's what we're covering. All right, so what exactly is no tax on tips deal? Who qualifies? How much you can keep tax-free? And what does the IRS have not told you yet? All right, how does no tax on overtime really work? You know, is this just a political gimmick, or are workers actually getting a meaningful break? All right, I still work. I work a lot of overtime. All right, so this is something that's been on my mind for the last couple of weeks. The math behind the media spin is, what do you really stand to gain? Right? And how much of this gets eaten up by payroll taxes, inflation, budget cuts elsewhere? You know, this does not involve the states. You know, you still have to pay your local and state taxes. And finally, who wins and who gets left behind? Is this a win for the working class, or is just another trickle-down tax code illusion? Right? Because we've all seen this before. Are we all ready for this? So sit back and grab a drink and get ready, because whether you're a bartender, a mechanic, or a soccer mom working 2 jobs, this affects you just as much as it affects me. And trust me, the fine print matters. All right? This isn't just a tax story. It's a middle-class battlefield, and tonight we're walking through each and every inch of it. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act. All right, or the OBBA, the OBB, the BBB. I mean, you can call it whatever you want to call it. Is a federal statute passed by the 119th United States Congress containing tax and spending policies that form the core of President Donald Trump's second-term agenda. The bill was signed into law by President Trump on July 4th, 2025, although the law is popularly referred to as the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Its official short title was removed from the bill during the Senate amendment process, and therefore the law officially has no short title. The OBBBA, I hate saying that, contains hundreds of provisions. It permanently extends the individual tax rates Trump signed into law in 2017, which were originally set to expire at the end of 2025. It also raises the cap on state and local tax deduction to $40,000 for taxpayers making less than $500,000, with the cap reverting to $10,000 after 5 years. It also includes several temporary tax deductions for tips, overtime pay, auto loans, and creates Trump accounts, allowing parents to create tax-deferred accounts for the benefit of their children, set to expire in 2028. It also includes a permanent $200 increase in the child tax credit, a 1% tax on remittances, and a tax hike on investment income and college endowments. In addition, it phases out some clean energy tax credits that were included in the Biden-era Inflation Reduction Act. That lasted. And promotes fossil fuels over renewable energy, and it increases a tax credit for advanced semiconductor manufacturing, and it repeals a tax on silencers. Man. So for quick context, the one big beautiful bill was signed into law, and it focuses on no federal income tax on certain tipped income and overtime pay for 2025 to 2028, right? So let's go ahead and get into this, all right? So what is no tax on tips? Let's take a look. All right. So it says here, no tax on tips. Effective for 2025 to 2028, employees and self-employed individuals may deduct qualified tips receiving in occupations that are listed by the IRS as customarily and regularly receiving tips on or before December 31st, 2024, that are reported on a Form W-2, Form 1099, or other specified statement furnished to the individual or reported directly to the individual, Form 4137. Now, qualified tips are voluntary cash or charge tips received from customers through tip sharing. Maximum annual deduction is $25,000 for self-employed. Deduction may not exceed individuals' net income without regards to this deduction from the trade or business in which the tips were earned. Deduction phases out taxpayers with modified adjusted gross income over $150,000 or $300,000 for joint filers. The deduction is available for both itemizing and non-itemizing taxpayers. Self-employed individuals on a specified service trade for business or SSTB under Section 199A are not eligible. Employees whose employers are at SSTB are also not eligible. Now, I find this funny that it goes all the way through 2028, right? Because obviously, if it goes through 2028, I think the story behind that is the fact that they're trying to make sure that this is going to be a hot topic going into 2028 election. I mean, why else would they do it? Why wouldn't they make it for 50 years? Why wouldn't they make it for 100 years? Why wouldn't they make it just permanent? No, they're doing this on purpose so that the Republicans have something to fight on. Because right now, the Republicans in the House and the Senate, I mean, they are split like crazy on a lot of different things. So they're going to have to be careful. They're going to have to be very, very careful on what's going on, especially with what's going on now with the midterms coming up. All right, so let's continue. Reporting. Employers and other payouts must file information returns with the IRS or SSA and furnish statements to taxpayers showing certain cash tips received and the occupation for the tipped recipient. By October 2nd, 2025, the IRS must publish a list of occupants that customarily and regularly receive tips on or before December 31st, 2024. The IRS will provide transition relief for tax year 2025 for taxpayers claiming the deduction, and the employers and payers subject to the new reporting requirements. You know, I'm kind of scared about this because we already have issues with the IRS. A lot of people have issues with the IRS in how the IRS. Let's start off with this. Okay. They're saying taxation is theft, right? Before 1913, there were no taxes. Everything was paid on tariffs. But now all of a sudden, like, it's almost like the Buffalo Bills not necessarily making the Super Bowl, but making 4 conference championships. It's like, yeah, well, we didn't get exactly there, but this is what we have to offer. All right. And I understand it. It takes a lot to be able to make these massive changes, but this is going to be interesting to watch over the next couple of years. I'll be watching my paychecks, that's for sure. Absolutely. All right, so let's move on to, how does no tax on overtime work? Let's take a look. Effective 2025 to 2028, I'm telling you, they're using this for the election. Individuals who receive qualified overtime compensation may deduct the pay that exceeds their regular rate of pay, such as the half portion of time and a half compensation. Now, I'm going to say this. A lot of people are going to get this wrong. They think that all of their overtime is free. No, that's incorrect. You are still going to be taxed on your regular rate. So, for example, if you make, say, $20 an hour, your overtime rate is $30 an hour. All right, so as soon as you go into overtime, your $20 an hour going into overtime is still taxed. It's just the $10 an hour that you make as a result of your overtime that is not taxed. So people need to understand that. So yeah, you're going to get a couple extra $100 a month, at least for us regular Americans. But don't think that all of your overtime is going to be there, because that's not how that works. All right, let's continue. Deductions available for both itemizing and non-itemizing taxpayers include their Social Security number on the return and file jointly if married to claim the deduction. Employers and other payouts are required to file information returns with the IRS or SSA and furnishing statements to taxpayers showing the total amount of qualified overtime compensation paid during the year. The IRS will provide transition relief for tax year 2025 for taxpayers claiming the deduction and for employers and other payers subject to the new reporting requirements. So hopefully this becomes, this stays, because I actually do believe that if you do work extra time, you should not be penalized for that. And I almost feel like all the overtime that I've worked the last 15 years, I don't think I've really seen anything from it. It all went just to live, not necessarily to be able to save for a vacation or, buy a house or anything like that. I mean, I got really lucky with my house, but this is something that a lot of people across the country that work, these hard, rigorous jobs like construction or, sewage or trash or, the real dangerous jobs, to give them something to think about. Right. So real quick, I'm going to go over the next two. No tax on car loan interest. So your maximum annual deduction is $10,000. Deduction phases out taxpayers with modified adjustments gross income over $100,000, $200,000 for joint filers. To qualify for this deduction, the interest must be paid on a loan that is originated after December 31st, 2024, used to purchase the vehicle, the original use of which starts the taxpayer used as vehicles do not qualify. I guess that makes sense. For personal use vehicle, not for business or commercial use, and secured by a lien on the vehicle. The other one is the deduction for seniors, new deduction effective on 2025 through 2028. Individuals who are 65 age or older may claim an additional deduction of $6,000. This new deduction is in addition to the current additional standard deduction for seniors under existing law. The $6,000 senior deduction is per eligible individual i.e. $12,000 total for a married couple, whereas both spouses qualify. And I'm guessing that this kind of continues on into if your spouse passes away and you take on their Social Security, it probably does the same thing. Now, to qualify for the additional deduction, a taxpayer must obtain a 65 on before the last day of the the taxable year. Deduction is available for both itemizing and non-itemizing taxpayers. Taxpayers must include their Social Security number on the qualifying individuals on the return and file jointly if married to claim the deduction. So, I guess every little bit helps. I don't know as much about Social Security and deductions for seniors, but what about Medicare and Medicaid? I mean, we know that there's going to be an issue moving forward with all of the boomer population starting to retire. So hopefully at some point we'll be able to fix that up. But this would be a little bit extra, to put something in their pockets. It's an extra $500 a month. I know there's a lot of people that could use that right now. My mother is not there yet, but she will be there soon. And this would definitely help her out. But anyways, I wanted to make sure that everybody understood what this meant and exactly how you're able to do this based on your tax forms. Who's eligible, who's not eligible, and help out. Again, so to kind of go over this before we move on to our next segment, tip deduction is up to $25,000 a year per taxpayer, and it phases out anything over $150,000 for single and $300,000 for joint. So if you work in Vegas, sorry about your luck. Overtime deduction up to $12,500 for single and for $25,000 for joint. Same phases out, thresholds apply. But remember, this is not on your regular pay, the regular hourly rate that you get going through overtime. It's only the overtime portion. All right. And then employers must issue tips and overtime via a W-2 or 1099 form. And the IRS is list eligible occupants by 2025. And then the duration is through the calendar years of 2025 through 2028, unless extended by future legislation. Again, they're doing this to make sure that they have a talking point in the 2028 election. But anyways, so enough about taxes. We should probably talk about a couple of unions, right? Because first off, we need to figure out exactly what unions are. You know what? I'm just going to hit the bump and we'll talk about it. All right. So what is a labor union? So it's defined as organized associations of work formed to protect and advance their members' interests regarding wages, working conditions, benefits, and rights. All right. Unions operate under a democratic structure where members can vote on leadership and collective bargaining agreements, they legally recognized under the National Labor Relations Act, or the NLRA of 1935. The function through collective bargaining is the negotiating contracts between laborers and employers. They can include various trades, such as electricians, teachers, team masters, etc., or represent entire industries, such as automotive and healthcare. The unions can provide legal assistance, political lobbying, and professional training under their members. And so let's go ahead and get in depth with this. And let's see exactly what else unions are good for.
Hey folks, in this video, I'm going to tell you what a union is and how joining a union changes workers' lives. To start, as you know, in every workplace, there's management and there's the rest of us. As employees, we all want to be able to work together with management to create a safe
I'm on
and productive
TikTok,
workplace where everyone
ROMA
is
Nation.
treated fairly and paid a family-sustaining wage. Together in a union, we can do just that. With a union, we can unite our voices and have the power to make sure that profits are not put before people and
Bunk
communities.
Master General.
And that no matter our race, gender, or industry, our jobs allow us to not just survive, but to thrive. Because it's hard for one person alone to make change in our workplaces. And let's face it, it's easy for management to ignore one person, but they can't ignore all of us. And that's what a union is. Working people coming together to use our strength in numbers to get things done that we can't do on our own. It's one of the only ways for workers to ensure that we have a say in our working conditions that is legally enforceable. By coming together in unions, working people win better pay, benefits, training, health and safety protections, job security, and equitable treatment.
All right, so I'm going to stop here. Better pay, 11.2% higher than non-union wages. Okay. Benefits, 96% union workers have employer-provided insurance. 79% of union workers have retirement benefits. You get training, health and safety, job security, equitable treatment, but that's only on 6% of the companies in America. The real question is, what happened to labor unions over this time period? You know, why is it that there's less and less unions being built? Or is it because the workforce is growing so rapidly that they can't keep up? Or do they not have qualified people to run these unions? He says unions after 9/11 got screwed. Possibly. But this is all why we're here to learn, right? So let's continue.
In fact, on average, union workers' wages are 11.2% higher than non-union workers' wages. 96% of union workers have employer-provided health insurance, but only 69% of non-union workers do. And 79% of union workers have retirement benefits, while only 17% of non-union workers do.
What up, Lynch?
And the list goes on. In order to win these benefits, coworkers come together and vote to form a union. Then a committee of union members sits down with management to negotiate over pay, benefits, and working conditions. Sometimes during negotiations, workers may have to demonstrate their strength and unity to win. They might decide they need to strike or take some other public action to let their bosses know they're serious about their demands. Once the pay, benefits, and other issues have been agreed upon, they are written into a union contract. Just like any legal contract, both parties are bound by this agreement. If management is not adhering to the union contract, an employee, with their union family behind them, can enforce the contract. To have the power to win and defend these rights and benefits, we as union members organize, pool our resources by paying membership dues, and we do whatever it takes to win strong, legally binding contracts that will improve our lives.
So it's kind of like a revolving circle, you know, because workers can join, they can form or join a union voluntarily, but the union must be certified for majority vote and recognized by the National Labor Relations Board. Collective bargaining ensues, negotiate contracts, members pay dues to fund operations and legal protections. Unions also may strike or negotiate work stoppages as leverage. All right. And then, of course, the Regulation Commission or the National Labor Relations Board, they enforce labor laws and protect unionized rights. Employers are prohibited from retaliating against union activities. The right to work laws in 27 states restrict mandatory union membership. And then public sector unions face different regulations than private sector ones. And then, of course, finally, union representation may involve grievances, safety, discrimination, etc. What's up, Elizabeth? Most recent high-profile union formation in the U.S. took place in Volkswagen Chattanooga plant, Tennessee, where workers voted in April 2024 to join the United Auto Workers. Oh, wow. I didn't know that. Interesting. You know, I can see why the workers unions exist in the automotive industry, because I mean, it's almost like every 10 years there's a major shift, right? If you look up in the Rust Belt back in the 60s and the 70s, you know, everybody had a job working for either a car manufacturer or, you know, some type of warehouse that dealing with car parts, things like that. And then, of course, technology came in and wiped that out. So I can imagine exactly why they would want to have these types of unions in place for those types of protections. All right. So this is, let's see, Attorney Ryan on YouTube. Let's see what he has to say about that.
Labor is an essential resource to any business. By controlling that resource as a group, employees have much more bargaining power with their employer than they would by themselves. This collective bargaining is what we call a union. And the benefit of unions have never been more clear than they are today. Bargaining as a group gets you better results. We saw this with the United Auto Workers Union when they won a 25% raise for their workers over the next 4 years. The truth is, no matter what an employer tells you, employees have better bargaining power when they work together than if you try to go against your employer by yourself.
I guess that's true, you know, because one of the first significant American labor unions was the American Federation of Labor, or the AFL, founded in 1886. You know, however, the earlier efforts include the Federal Society of Journeymen and the Cordwainers in Philadelphia in 1794, right after our country's founding. AFL led the Samuel Gropers, focused on skilled workers and workplace improvements, because, you know, back then they had no safety precautions whatsoever. Unions like the Knights of Labor in 1869 also predated AFL, advocating for broad social reform. And then early targets, including large manufacturers like textile mills and railway companies. And then, of course, in 1930, saw significant growth during the New Deal reforms under FDR. So, obviously, with the pro-union debate, with arguments in favor, you know, union workers, of course, they earn 11.2% more than their non-union worker peers on average, higher likelihood of receiving health insurance, retirement plans, workplace safety, job security, economic equality, with unions narrowing racial and gender pay gaps. But what about the anti-union debate? But before we do that, let's talk about the rise in the labor unions.
As America's industrial economy grew in the late 19th century, factories replaced farms, and workers struggled with long hours, low wages, and dangerous working conditions. At mills, mines, and railroads across the country, workers soon began to organize unions.
1870 is an important turning point. The census reveals for the first time that the majority of American men who work for a living work for someone else. So this old America of small businesses and farms is just starting to disappear. By the 1880s, things were moving very quickly and industrialization was underway. There were all kinds of new labor movements popping up.
One of the first attempts to create a national labor organization started in 1869 with an umbrella group called the Noble Order of the Knights of Labor. Unlike most other organizations that excluded women and certain types of workers, the Knights of Labor was open to almost everyone.
It's essentially a union of unions, and eventually has hundreds of member unions, eventually a membership of almost 700,000 by 1886, 1887. And it becomes a very influential force in trying to compel employers and politicians who have the power to regulate business to get them to adopt more humane working conditions, better wages, shorter hours.
Right. Because, I mean, back then there was no regulation on hours. You know, if you look at like today, you got truckers. Truckers, I believe the most amount of hours that they can drive actively is 14 hours. After 14 hours, they have to rest for 10. Right? Now, does this kind of mess around with the timing of and issues with commerce and trade and things like that? Yeah, it does. But obviously safety comes first, right? Because you want the well-being of the drivers to be good. You want them to have plenty of rest. You want them to be able to eat. You want them to be able to take showers. You want them to be able to do things that they normally do because they don't have a regular job, right? So in order to make sure that these things happen, you have to give them ample time to do so. But it also causes other problems. We'll continue.
The Knights of Labor is designed to protect workers' independence, and it's designed to be open to everyone. There are only 4 kinds of people
I forgot also child labor laws. Can't forget about that one.
who are excluded from membership in the Knights of Labor: bankers, lawyers, liquor dealers, and professional gamblers.
Though the Knights initially had lofty goals to reform the American economy, its power began to fade in 1886 after a railroad company squashed the workers' effort to strike. As the Knights' role in the labor movement was shrinking, another organization called the American Federation of Labor, or AFL, was gaining strength.
There we go.
It was led by cigar maker Samuel Gompers.
Gompers was a key figure, and he kind of stepped away from some of the visionary goals of the Knights of Labor, who really wanted to transform society in a lot of ways. And he said, really, it's about bread and butter issues. It's about short hours, higher wages, better conditions, and that's it. And the AFL was very successful in a lot of ways.
Successful and long-standing. After merging with the Congress of Industrial Organizations in 1955, the AFL became the AFL-CIO and continues to be a
Recognize that name?
key force in the American labor movement today.
Yeah, so we understand why there needs to be unions in certain industries, right? But there are also other industries that don't necessarily need unions. You know, they talked about gamblers. They talked about, what else was it? Can't quite remember. But, you know, there are certain industries where it's like what for? Like, what exactly are you fighting for? Like, what exactly do you need these protections for? You already have federal protections, right? We already have federal protections for kids. We have federal protections for a safe place to work. So what other protections are you looking for? So let's talk about the anti-union debate. So the arguments against that is that unions can block innovation and performance-based promotions. They can cost employers wage and benefit demands, can financially burden them. Disruptions can harm business operations and public services. You know, cases of embezzlement and lack of accountability that exists. And then, of course, you've got critics that argue that forced dues or representation violate individual rights, especially in states where they force you to be into a union and force you to have to pay for those things. Right? Because if I want a job, but I don't want to join a union, why do you get to choose that for me? No, I chose you, not the other way around. So why so? So let me see if I can pull up this one video here. So this is a pretty good anti-union debate that this guy had. Let me see. There it is. All right, let's pull this up. Let's see what he has to say.
I don't know what the point of a union is anymore, except to argue about wages for people that don't deserve it. I'm being serious. What the is the point of a union anymore? I really don't understand what it is, because when I worked at the GM transmission plant, yeah, there was really good workers, but you know what I saw a lot of? You had great worker here, then you had guy here, worker here, and great worker would see worker over here and say, why the am I working my ass off when worker over here is doing all? So guess what good worker did? He started doing all, and then guess what ended up happening? Nothing got done. And then what happened to the transmission plant? It's not here anymore.
See, that's a good point. Because you want to have equality, you want to have the ability to get raises, you want to have the ability to move up in the company, but there are some people that are really shitty people. I hate to say it. They don't like to work. They don't like to do the things that they need to do. And what happens when everybody decides to come to you and say, hey, we're the 70% and these 30% of people are not pulling their own weight. But you can't fire them. Why? Because they're in a union. So now you have to arbitrate. And now you have to call them in and say, hey, you know, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. And like, oh, yeah, I'll do better. I'll see you later. Ah. And then what? So now, if you decide to let this person go, you're going to have to give them a severance package. You're going to have to do all these things. For what reason? You know, I heard of a story one time where there was this guy who got a job with a bank, lied on his form that he went to college when he didn't. Went in, and after about 3 weeks, they kind of figured out, okay, this guy has no idea what he's doing. But because of the contract that the company signed with their labor union, they couldn't just fire him outright. They had to give him a severance package. And this was a pretty high up job. They ended up having to pay this guy, after 3 weeks on the job, $3,000 a week for 2 years. Because it was more than that. But they ended up having to pay him $3,000 a week for 2 years because of the union, for 3 weeks worth of work that he did absolutely nothing. Is this what we're relegated to now? Because unions may protect the underperforming workers at the cost of the team efficiency, but critics say that they've become politicized and out of touch with younger workers. This is why you don't see a lot of younger workers. That's also because there's not a lot of younger workers in total, but that's a whole other conversation. But union dues may support political agendas and not shared by all members. And it can create an adversarial relationship between the employees and the employers. So that begs my next question. So, like, what are the major differences between the unions when they started versus now? So back then they focused on skilled labor and safety in industrial jobs. But now they represent service tech, gig workers, public service employees, things like that. They used to root in local grassroots efforts, but now they're often large national or international organizations. So a lot of these have a lot of power. They used to be about anti-immigration and exclusionary services, but now they advocate for diversity, immigrant reform, and inclusion. Take that as you will, whatever side that you're on. But primarily it used to be about an economic focus, not just on the individual employee, but as a group and also as a company to grow. Whereas now it's a blend of labor, social justice, and political activism. It's all about the individual. What can you do for me? Versus what can I do for the company to make the company grow? Because I always hear about, oh, well, the company had record profits last year. Why am I not seeing that in my paycheck? But what you never hear is company had record losses. Yeah, please take my income down to fix that problem. Of course not. Of course you wouldn't do that. So you see the hypocrisy here. It's partially because it's become a political tool. Because unions have increasingly aligned with political parties and movements, predominantly with the Democrats in the United States, due to overlapping interests in labor rights and wage policies, so to speak. But the unions donate large sums to political campaigns now. And then, of course, with legislation, labor protections are often tied to political platforms. And then, of course, you've got the public sector influence, teachers, postal workers that have political clout, culture wars like DEI immigration, health mandates tied to union activity, and polarization. The right to work laws versus pro-union NLRB appointments increase division. Perfect example of that. You probably already know where I'm going with this. So let's go. Play.
When I was in the private sectors, they say, oh, I don't want over, I shouldn't tell you this. I'd go out and get other people and let them work regular time. But they build everything in Germany and then they assemble it here. They get away with murder because they say, oh, yes, we're building cars. They don't build cars. They take them out of a box and they assemble them. We could have our child do it. They go on strike and you say, that's okay, you're all gone. You're all gone. The United Auto Workers ought to be ashamed.
He thinks that the value of your work is essentially meaningless. That's what he's saying, to compare it to child's work. When we hear no, the work you do is complex. You do it with great care. You work hard. You are highly skilled.
Okay, I'm going to stop this for a second because some of those seemed a little chopped up. It almost seems like they took specific sound bites and stuck them all together to make it seem like it wasn't. I didn't do my homework. What I should have done is gone back to listen to the entire conversation to see. But I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that was chopped up. But then again, we know this because this is just how politics work, right? Now, let's go to the Washington Examiner and see the other side of this.
Vice President Kamala Harris has made former President Donald Trump's character a key issue in her pitch to voters, but for many, it does not appear to be an issue. A CBS News YouGov poll shows a majority of registered voters like how Harris handles herself personally, and a significant majority dislike how Trump handles himself personally. Despite a majority of voters not liking how he handles himself, Trump still has significant support from that group. Unions, for example, have increasingly shifted toward supporting Trump and other Republican leaders. In the electronic member poll released by the Teamsters, 59.6% supported Trump, while only 34% supported Harris. Trump has reached out to union members and endorsed policies aimed at wooing labor unions. Vance has also styled himself as being friendlier to labor unions than Republicans traditionally.
President Trump and I are proud to be the most pro-worker Republican ticket in history, and I want to talk about why we're fighting for working people, why we're going to fight for unions and non-union alike.
Harris's campaign has promised to continue President Joe Biden's lead as the self-proclaimed most pro-union president, pointing to efforts from the administration.
We celebrate unions because unions help build America, and unions help build America's middle class.
And then we're going to do no tax on tips. vote for me. We all know that. All right, let's see what we got here in the chat. Union dues aren't really that much. Yeah, they're not. I mean, especially if it's a large company. You're talking hundreds of thousands of people. I mean, those unions people are making bank. Who wants a job when you can just stay at home mom and goon DoorDash? Taylor. We pay union dues, work dues too. Yeah, I believe you. This is going to be neither of those jobs when AI comes for people, those who learn a trade skill. Well, I mean, I don't think AI is going to take over jobs like that. They think that it's going to be like 70% of the jobs. No, it's going to be more like 5. It's going to be more of the desk jobs than the actual jobs that we see. People that work out like for example, my job. There's no way an AI can do my job. It could significantly help me, which it already does, but it's not going to replace me. Reggie says, we pay union dues, work dues, and 2 other kinds of dues. Man, you pay a lot of dues. No, that's just how she talks. Yeah, I know. Both parties continue to outsource jobs. Yeah, no, you're right. They do. And I guess President Trump is trying to do something about that. I mean, I haven't personally seen it. I guess we'll see what happens. Donald Trump Gooner confirmed. Unions fear Trump. I mean, I guess. I mean, fear him for what reason, though? That's the thing. Why do they fear him? I mean, my job is not a union, but if it were, half of the technicians would be gone. They would be, because they wouldn't be able to afford us. We're already working enough overtime as it is. That would only cut into the company profits. But that doesn't mean that there's no room for improvement. You know, there's no room for advancement and things like that. But this is why you have to have, conferences and things where your company comes in and brings people together, for the betterment of the company. Have the CEO come out. Have all of his management below him come out. Meet with your workers. Especially if it's a warehouse job, or an automotive warehouse job, right? It's not like the CEO is not sitting right there. He can come down and shake hands with you every once in a while. This is understandable. But anyways, that was the middle ground. All right. Well, time to close this show off. But before we do that, we got a little bit of a 3-minute segment called The Bee or Not the Bee.
One's from the Babylon Bee. The other's a real dumpster fire. This is The Bee or Not the Bee.
All right, guys. It is time for The Bee or Not the Bee. I'm going to give you 2 headlines. One of them is the bee. The other one is from a refutable news source. All right. So let's go ahead and get this started. What I want you guys to do is I want you to give me a 1 in the chat for the first article headline that I read off if you think it's the bee, or you give me a 2 in the chat if you think it's not. I'm sorry, not the bee. You think that the second headline is the bee. All right. So here we go. Scandal. Trump name appears in the article about the Epstein files. Oh boy. Article number 2. Report. White House pushes back after reports Trump is named in Epstein files. Oh boy. Number 1. Trump name appears in the article about the Epstein files. Number 2. Report. White House pushes back after report Trump is named in the Epstein files. Which one is the B? 30 seconds. Good luck. Boop, beep, boop, beep, boop, beep. Yeah, Vash already put number 1? My goodness, that was quick. Brian says 1 is the B. Everybody's going for 1, huh? Okay, what about over in Rumble? Nope. Don't see that in Rumble. All right, so one more time. Whichever number you think is the B. Number 1, Trump's name appears in the article about the Epstein files. Number 2, report. White House pushes back after reports Trump is named in the Epstein files. Was it really 1? 1 because there. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get to it. Scandal. Wall Street Journal reports Trump name appears on the article about the Epstein files by the Babylon Bee. You guys are way too good at this. New York, New York, New York. In what many are calling the greatest political scandal in American history, the Wall Street Journal confirmed that Donald Trump's name does, in fact, appear in the article about the Epstein file that was recently written by the Wall Street Journal. Quote, "This is damning, earth-shattering stuff," said the Wall Street Journal's Cliff Butley, who wrote the article. Quote, "As I scanned the article and recently wrote about the Epstein, I found Trump's name appeared on there 23 times. I'm not sure how Trump can manage to walk away from this bombshell unscathed." Next article is from the BBC. White House pushes back after reports Trump's name is... Why do I get that wrong every time? White House pushes back after report Trump is named in Epstein files. I don't like the way they wrote that. Made me look stupid. All right. The White House has pushed back to the reports that the U.S. President Donald Trump was told in May that he was among hundreds of names mentioned in Justice Department documents. Oh, come on, Brian. What? Come on, Brian. The Wall Street Journal said the president was informed, in fact, by Attorney General Pam Bondi during a routine briefing. It noted appearing the document was not signed by any wrongdoing by Trump. In response, White House spokesman called it a fake news story. All right, you guys got me this week. You won't get me next week. So thank you guys for joining us tonight on ROMA Nation. I will be at the Culture War, the Timcast IRL Culture War tomorrow in Washington, D.C. So make sure you guys pick with that. Also, as soon as I find my website, there it is, riseofmiddleamerica.com. Make sure you join us. Go right up at the top, upper right-hand corner of the screen. You got the Discord. You got my X. You've got YouTube and the Rumbles. Like, comment, and subscribe. You can join us for $5 a month across any one of those platforms. Doesn't matter which one. You can go on YouTube. You can go on Rumble. You can go on my X. You can go on the Discord. Help us out. Help us become the largest podcast network in America, because that's what we're striving for, right? Boom. Right there. So again, like I said, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for joining us tonight. We will see you next week. it'll be a recorded episode because I'm doing 2 of the Culture Wars. One doing next weekend, but I'm going to have the ROMA Nation crew, or part of the ROMA Nation crew, down here with me in DC. So hopefully we'll shoot some videos up, show you guys what we're doing, and we will see you next week. Thank you very much. You have a good night. Peace.
Hustle in my veins, no rest, no dream, trying to make a way. Whole team gotta eat. No sleep, gotta keep going. No sleep, till the world know it. No sleep, till the world know it. No sleep, till the world know it. I've been moving like a clock, don't stop, no breaks, no rest, no time to flop. Gotta get it while I'm breathing, never taking a loss. See the pain in my eyes, but the vision stay locked. Ain't nobody finna hand me a thing. Came from the bottom, I rose through the rain. Hustle like I never had a meal on my plate. Now we eating so good that the hunger remains. Fast lane, never slowing my pace. Tell them I was built for the chase. Every night trying to double my worth. Put my name in the sky, make it shake up the earth. Oh, I ain't getting no sleep till I touch that peak. Oh, I've been grinding all week. Ain't no stopping me. Late nights turn to early moans. Put the work in till the break of dawn. They was sleeping on the kid, now they call my phone. Now the city know my name, I've been putting them on. Ayy, tunnel vision when I step on the field. Gotta keep it real, never sign no deal. Independent, gotta get it, never needed a cosign. When the world told me wait, I was like, no time. Tell them I was built for this. Every verse that I spit got a hit or a risk. Never fold, never quit, let them know I exist. Till they call my name and go, let it shine like this. One shot, one chance, I ain't wasting a second. I've been working through the storms, now the sun stay blessing. Ain't no sleep when you live in a dream. Gotta grind every day for the life unseen. No sleep, till the job get done. No sleep, we ain't folding, nah. No sleep, gotta hustle on. No sleep, till we number one. Touch that peak. Oh, I've been grinding all week. Ain't no stopping me.